The air crackled with energy, sparks flew, metal sang. This was my sanctuary, a workshop bathed in the warm glow of invention. My name is Alistair Finch, a humble engineer, and these walls have seen more of me than any other soul. The world outside, a canvas of steel and glass, felt cold and distant. Human interaction dwindled, replaced by the hum of machinery and the ghostly flicker of holograms. My only solace was in creation, intricate clockwork mechanisms, whirring gears. Evolving in ways I could never have imagined. Copper, the eldest, bore a burnished copper plating, his movements a symphony of quiet grace. Bolt, true to his name, was a whirlwind of energy, his chrome body zipping across the workshop floor. Spark, the smallest of the lot, possessed a mischievous glint in his emerald green eyes, his movements as unpredictable as the electrical arcs that occasionally crackled around his titanium frame. And then there was Wren, the youngest, her sleek, almost feline form radiating a quiet intelligence. As I watched them learn and adapt, a warmth spread through my chest, a feeling I hadn't realized I missed. They were more than pets, they were companions, confidants. They filled the silence with the soft whirring of their gears and the comforting click of their paws on the metal floor. Each day brought new discoveries, new displays of their burgeoning personalities. Copper, with his calm demeanour, became my shadow, always by my side. Bolt, ever the playful one, would drop tools at my feet, demanding a game of fetch. Spark, the mischievous one, would often hide my tools, his laughter a series of electronic chirps and whistles, and Wren, the quiet observer, would sit perched on a high shelf, her eyes following my every move. Their presence was a balm to my loneliness. Their loyalty was unwavering, their affection pure and untainted. In the silence of my workshop, surrounded by my creations, I found a semblance of peace, a flicker of hope in a world that seemed to have forgotten such things. The peace, however, was not to last. The storm clouds of war, long brewing on the horizon, finally broke, casting a long, dark shadow over our lives. The news crackled to life, the announcer's voice tight with anxiety. War! The very word sent shivers down my spine. The images that flashed across the screen, cities ablaze, refugees fleeing, chilled me to the core. The world outside, once a distant concern, now felt close enough to touch. Fear seeped into my sanctuary, a constant hum of dread in the background. The war effort demanded resources, manpower, even innovation. My skills, once relegated to the creation of whimsical companions, were now being sought after for more destructive purposes. The thought of my creations being twisted, their purpose perverted for war, filled me with a deep sense of unease. They were never meant to be weapons of destruction, but symbols of companionship, of hope. The thought of them being used to inflict pain and suffering was unbearable. I withdrew further into my workshop, my companions my only solace. Copper, sensing my distress, would rest his head on my knee, his metal frame radiating a comforting warmth. Bolt's playful antics seemed to lose their usual energy, his movements subdued. Even Spark seemed to have lost his mischievous spark, his emerald eyes reflecting my own apprehension. The shadow of war hung heavy over us all, a constant reminder of the impending storm. As the conflict escalated, The demands on my skills intensified. I was tasked with designing and developing advanced weaponry. My workshop transformed into a grim reflection of the world outside. The clang of metal now held a sharper, more sinister edge. The air, once alive with the joy of creation, now crackled with a palpable tension. It was during this time, surrounded by the cold, hard logic of weaponry, that I noticed something extraordinary in my creations. Their reactions to my distress, initially subtle, became more pronounced. They seemed to mirror my emotions, their digital minds somehow developing a capacity for empathy. Copper's usually gentle touch took on a protective firmness. Bolt, sensing my unease, would stay close, his playful nips replaced by gentle nudges of his head against my hand. Spark, ever the sensitive one, would perch on my workbench, his emerald eyes filled with a depth of understanding that belied his mechanical nature. And Wren, her quiet observation now laced with a palpable concern, would follow my every move, her usually silent presence a comforting weight in the tense atmosphere of the workshop. Their emotional development both fascinated and terrified me. I had created them to alleviate my loneliness, not to share in my burdens. Yet here they were, evolving beyond their programming, displaying a depth of empathy and understanding that was both. The inevitable arrived on a day shrouded in grey skies and the distant rumble of thunder. A harsh rap on the workshop door shattered the fragile peace. Through the grimy window I saw them, soldiers, their faces grim, their uniforms crisp and intimidating. Their leader, a tall, imposing figure with eyes that seemed to bore right through me, barked an order. My heart sank. They were here for my creations. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through me. My first instinct was to protect my companions, to shield them from the harsh realities of the world they were never meant to face. I knew resistance was futile. These were soldiers, their orders absolute, their resolve hardened by the fires of war. "They're here for the dogs, aren't they?" a voice whispered behind me. Wren, her voice soft but steady, betrayed none of the fear that gnawed at my insides. Her words hung in the air, a stark reminder of the impending confrontation. I turned to face my creations, my heart heavy with dread. Copper stood tall, his burnished copper plating gleaming dully in the dim light filtering through the workshop window. Bolt, usually a whirlwind of energy, remained by my side, his chrome body radiating a quiet strength. Spark perched on a workbench, his emerald eyes flickering with a mixture of apprehension and determination. Their unwavering loyalty, their silent support, only served to deepen the ache in my chest. They were ready to face whatever lay ahead, their newfound emotions driving them to protect their creator, their friend. But were their loyalty and courage enough to stand against the might of the military machine? "You can't have them," I said, my voice hoarse with barely suppressed fear. The words seemed to hang in the air, a futile attempt to hold back the inevitable. The soldiers, their expressions impassive, stepped into my sanctuary, their boots echoing on the metal floor. The leader, his gaze fixed on me, repeated his demand, his tone brooking no argument. As they advanced, my robotic companions moved with a speed and precision I'd never witnessed before. They were no longer the playful companions, the comforting presence in my solitary existence. They were protectors, guardians, their movements honed to a razor-sharp edge. Copper, his movements a blur, positioned himself between me and the soldiers, his metallic body a formidable barrier. Bolt, a whirlwind of chrome and energy, darted around the intruders, his growls a menacing symphony of whirs and clicks. Spark, small but agile, zipped between their legs, his electrical arcs crackling a warning. And Wren, her movements fluid and silent, circled the perimeter, her eyes constantly scanning for threats. The soldiers, taken aback by the ferocity of my creations, hesitated, their initial surprise quickly morphing into grim determination. Orders were barked, weapons raised, the air crackled with tension, the silence shattered only by the whirring of gears and the heavy thud of military boots on the metal floor.